The razor blade caught the fluorescent light, and for a moment I couldn't remember why I was holding it. My hand was shaking badly enough that I had to set it down on the chipped motel sink. 3 days ago, I'd held Elena's hand in a surgery prep room and promised her everything would be fine. Yesterday, she'd slid divorce papers under the door like I wasn't worth knocking for. I picked the razor back up. Just needed to shave. That was all. The stubble on my jaw had grown wild over the last week, and every time I caught my reflection, I flinched. I looked like someone who had already been left behind. The divorce papers were still on the toilet lid, damp where I'd knocked over a water bottle. Elena's handwriting on a yellow post-it stuck to the front page. I deserve better than survival. Before we begin, subscribe if you love stories about second chances and redemption. You won't want to miss what comes next. I stared at it longer than I should have. Not because I disagreed, because I wasn't sure which of us it was meant to condemn. I dragged the razor down my cheek. The scrape grounded me, a small, controllable pain. Something familiar. My phone buzzed on the edge of the sink. I let it buzz, then again, and again. Christ? I muttered, wiping foam off my face with a towel that smelled like bleach and old water. I grabbed the phone without checking the screen. Hello? Is this Marcus Hale? The man's voice was calm, professional. Depends. My name is Bernard Chin. I'm an estate attorney in San Francisco. I've been trying to reach you for 3 days. I sat down on the edge of the tub. Estate attorney meant one thing. Someone I didn't know well enough to mourn had died. I don't know anyone in San Francisco, I said. You knew Walter Chen, Bernard replied. Or rather, he knew you. The name didn't land. Never heard of him. He was your uncle, your father's brother. I laughed before I could stop myself. Short, ugly sound. My father didn't have a brother. Pause. Bernard didn't rush. He did, he said finally. Walter passed away 2 weeks ago. He left you everything. The walls tilted, just enough to make standing feel optional. Everything meaning what? A 4-story commercial building in Soma. A bank account with $52,000. Some personal effects. Property alone worth approximately $580,000. The phone slipped in my hand. I caught it before it hit the tile. That's not possible. I have the will here, Mr. Hale. It's very specific. Specific how? Everything goes to Marcus James Hale, son of Robert Hale. That's me, I said, though it didn't feel true. Then you'll need to come to my office. Walter also left you a letter. I think you should read it. I didn't ask why. 2 days later, I stood on 3rd Street staring up at a building that now belonged to me. The ground floor was a bookstore, wide windows, a faded sign reading Iris and ink books. The upper floors looked abandoned. Cracked glass, water stains, pigeons nested in the gutters like they'd already won. Bernard stood beside me with his briefcase. Younger than I'd expected. Tired in the way people get when they've seen too many endings. The bookstore's been here 6 years, he said. Owner pays on time. Always has. The upper floors have been empty since Walter bought the building in '98. Why'd he buy it? Bernard handed me a ring of heavy brass keys. You'll understand after you read the letter. The door opened with a weighty click. Inside, the air smelled like paper, dust, and something warm. A cat slept on the counter, unmoved by our entrance. An elderly woman looked up from the register. Bernard, she said, smiling. Then her eyes sharpened on me. Oh, you're Robert's boy. You knew my father? I knew Walter, she replied. I'm Grace Chen. Bernard cleared his throat. My mother runs the shop. Grace studied me like she was taking inventory. You look like him, she said. Walter, toward the end. I didn't know what to say. He bought this place because he needed somewhere to go, she continued. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere that didn't ask him who he'd failed. Bernard glanced at his watch. We should see the upper floors. The stairwell smelled like mildew and old birds. Bernard unlocked the 2nd floor. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, catching dust in the air. It needs work, he said. But the bones are good. I stepped to the window, wiped a circle clean with my sleeve. People moved below. Traffic flowed. Life continued, unaware I was standing inside it again. What's above this? Storage. Mostly. We climbed another flight. Bernard unlocked the third floor. I heard breathing before I saw anyone. A girl stood up from behind a stack of boxes. 17, maybe, sleeping bag at her feet. She didn't run, just watched, waiting. How long have you been here? Bernard asked. For months, she said. 5, maybe. Did Walter know? Her shoulders loosened slightly. Yeah. Bernard exhaled. Marcus, don't. The girl picked up her backpack. Wait, I said. What's your name? Iris. You got somewhere else to go? She shook her head. You work. I draw. She handed me a sketchbook. The portraits inside were careful, observant, honest. On the last page, an old man in a chair. Gentle smile. Tired eyes. That's Walter, she said. He said everyone should be seen at least once. I closed the book. You can stay, I said. But you work. Help downstairs. Keep this place from falling apart. I didn't ask Bernard's permission. Iris nodded once, like she'd expected this. Outside, Bernard shook his head. That was reckless. Probably. She could sue you. She's a kid sleeping next to pigeons. Bernard opened his briefcase. There's something else. He handed me an envelope. My name written carefully. Walter added a clause to the will. If anyone challenges the inheritance through marriage or relationship, they get $1 and a photograph. What photograph? A young man outside a hospital alone, holding flowers. That's your father, Bernard said. And Walter. He never stopped showing up. It's because of the surgery? Walter changed the will the day after. He didn't expect her to stay. I read Walter's letter alone in my truck. Don't waste this on someone who would leave you in a motel. I folded the paper and watched pigeons circle the roof. The first week in the building felt unreal. Every floor carried its own smell. Books, paint, dust, old wood. I walked through the empty apartments, unlocking doors, turning on lights, imagining life filling the rooms. Iris was everywhere at once, moving between the third floor and the bookstore. She set up her little workspace, carefully arranging her paints and canvases. Grace watched over her like a grandmother would, correcting posture or suggesting brushes. I couldn't tell if the building felt lived in yet or if it was just me imagining it. The difference was subtle. When people arrive, space stops being a building and becomes a home. 3 days later, I was in the bookstore when my phone buzzed. Marcus, Bernard's voice, calm but firm. Yeah, there's an issue. Elena has filed for divorce. Your half of the building is at risk. The words landed like a punch. She did what? I asked. Divorce. She's claiming half of your inheritance as marital property. And her sister is involved. She's coordinating everything. I let the phone fall to the counter. My hands shook. Books in the background. The cat sleeping undisturbed, unaware of the chaos. I'll handle it, I said finally. Tell me what you need. That afternoon, Bernard arrived in the office, briefcase in hand. We need to review the assets, Marcus, he said, and plan a strategy. If we wait, they'll move first. I nodded, scanning the room. Sunlight caught dust motes in the air, and for a moment I felt like a child sneaking into a library for the first time. Except this wasn't innocent. This was survival. Over the next week, I learned more than I wanted about betrayal. Bank statements, text messages, altered records, emails forwarded with changed dates. Claudia's fingerprints were everywhere, even though Elena carried most of the blame. Iris watched quietly as I sat at a makeshift desk in the corner of her studio, examining documents. She didn't interrupt. She didn't ask questions. She just kept painting, as if she understood that some things couldn't be explained in words. Grace brought coffee. You look exhausted, she said. I am, I admitted. But it's not just me. She's trying to take what wasn't hers. Grace nodded slowly. I don't know all the details, but I do know this. Some people don't know how to be generous. Some people never learn. 2 weeks later, the first meeting with Greer and Elena's lawyer took place in Bernard's office. The room smelled faintly of coffee and legal paper. I sat on one side of the table, Bernard beside me, Elena on the other side, Claudia lurking like a shadow. Greer started with a smile. We're here to discuss a fair division. Your client is entitled to half of the property value. Your client is entitled to nothing, Bernard said evenly. But if you want to take this to court, we'll give you one hell of a trial. There was a pause. Elena didn't speak. Claudia's lips tightened. Evidence exists, Bernard continued. Financial manipulation, altered communications, coordinated strategies to misrepresent timelines. Elena swallowed, looking down. Greer glanced at his notes, then back at us. You do realize counterclaims could involve fraud and emotional manipulation, Bernard added, calm but lethal. Elena's fingers tightened around her pen. She looked like a storm held at bay. That night, back on the 4th floor, I finally exhaled. Iris was painting, Theo was tinkering with tools in the corner, and Grace was locking up the bookstore. I stared out the window. The city hummed below. Traffic, people, lights. All oblivious to the war quietly unfolding inside this building. This is ridiculous, I said softly. Iris didn't look up. It's the world, she said. Sometimes you just show up and deal with it. That's all anyone can do. I let her words hang in the air. She was right. All I could do was show up. Over the next month, the building began to feel alive. The 2nd floor's potential tenants visited. Plans for renovations took shape. I scheduled meetings with contractors, painters, electricians. Every night, I'd sit on the fire escape and think. About Elena. About Claudia. About Walter. About Iris. About the girl I'd never met who now depended on me. About what it meant to inherit responsibility instead of just property. It was heavy, exhausting, but I kept showing up. Then one rainy afternoon, Bernard called. Marcus, new information. Elena has been seeing someone for months. Your divorce claim isn't just about the building. There's manipulation, collusion, evidence she's keeping from the court. I recommend immediate action. I closed my eyes. The rain tapping against the window sounded like distant typewriters. Writing the next chapter of my life without my permission. I'll do what's necessary, I said. Whatever it takes. Bernard's voice softened. Good. And Marcus? Take care of Iris. Make sure she's protected. This isn't just about property. It's about people. I looked over at her, hunched over her painting, oblivious to the storm. I nodded. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, the seal of California looming behind the bench. I sat next to Bernard at the respondents' table. Elena sat across the aisle with Greer. Claudia behind her, composed, immaculate. Judge Moreno entered at exactly 9. No ceremony. Just authority. Good morning. We're here for Hale versus Hale. Property dispute arising from dissolution of marriage, she said, glasses perched low on her nose. Mr. Chun, you represent the respondent? Yes, Your Honor. And Mr. Greer, you represent the petitioner and Ms. Ross? Yes, Your Honor. Judge Moreno looked at Elena. Mrs. Hale, you filed for divorce approximately 8 weeks ago. Correct. Yes. And you're seeking half of a property your husband inherited from a relative he never met. A relative who explicitly excluded opportunists in his will. Greer opened his mouth, but Judge Moreno cut him off. I want to hear from your client why she believes she deserves half of someone else's inheritance. Silence. I made a mistake, Elena said. We all do, the judge said. The question is whether yours entitles you to half of someone else's property. Bernard rose. Your Honor, we have evidence of coordinated financial manipulation, altered communications, and misrepresentation of timelines. Bank records, text messages, and timestamps all show premeditation. Judge Moreno flipped through the pages. Ms. Ross, you altered evidence? Claudia stood. I was protecting my sister. By falsifying records? I was showing the pattern. The pattern was fabricated. Judge Moreno turned to Greer. This could be referred to the district attorney. Greer swallowed. Your Honor. How much are you seeking, Ms. Ross? $50,000, she said. For what? For support I provided. You want to be paid for dismantling your sister's marriage?
Elena froze.
I stood. Abuse? I sold everything I owned to save her life. Mr. Hale. She destroyed my marriage, I said, pointing at Claudia. Manipulated her. Forged evidence. And now she wants to be paid for it. The gavel banged. Bernard pulled me back into my seat. Judge Moreno exhaled. Ms. Ross, your claim is denied. You will pay Mr. Hale's legal fees related to this filing. $8,000. Claudia looked like she wanted to argue. Elena didn't move. Mr. Hale, the judge said, turning to me. Do you wish to speak? I stood. I never met my uncle. He bought this building because he was lonely. Filled it with books and people who needed a place to stand. Left me everything. Not because he loved me, but because he understood loss. I read Walter's letter aloud. Every word landed in the silent courtroom. No one spoke. 2 days later, Bernard called. Elena wants to withdraw.
No cantes divorce.
Good. Except Claudia filed separately for emotional damages. I laughed once. Came out wrong. We fight it, I said. The city moved around the building, oblivious, while I sat on the fire escape that evening. Lights glimmered. People moved. Somewhere, Elena was packing in Portland. Derek was probably relieved. Iris appeared at the window. You okay?
No.
What happened? I told her. Are you going to see her? I don't know. What would I even say? Maybe you don't say. Maybe you just show up. Walter showed up for people who hurt him. Maybe that's what sanctuary really means. Showing up even when it costs you something. I nodded. Yeah, probably. Portland. Hospital. Antiseptic. Fear. Quiet broken by beeps and machines. 3rd floor oncology wing. Hallway seemed endless. I stood outside her door 5 minutes before knocking. Come in, she said. Voice smaller than I remembered. She sat propped in bed. Hair gone, weight gone. For in her arm, skin fragile. Stage 4, brutal honesty. Marcus. She tried to smile. You came. Yeah. Unsure. Should I sit? Please. I pulled a chair. Silence. Machines and rain tapping the windows. Thank you for coming, she said. I know you didn't have to. Bernard said you needed Sarah's information. For your will. I'm leaving everything to Ryan. Nephew.
Claudia Esson.
Good kid. Shouldn't suffer because of us. That's good. More silence. Rain steady. Machines steady. I'm not going to apologize again, Elena said. I already did. In court. I meant it. But sorry doesn't fix anything.
No.
It doesn't. I was leaving anyway. Before the cancer. Claudia pushed. I checked out of our marriage 2 years prior. I know. How? You stopped laughing at my jokes 2 years ago. Not funny. They were. To someone once. Yeah, they were. She adjusted the blanket, hands shaking. Did you love me at the end? When you sold everything. I sold everything I had. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She nodded. Fair. I don't know if I loved you either. Maybe I loved the idea of being saved more than the person saving me. Yeah. Rain hammered. Machines beeped. Can I tell you something? She asked. Before, gestured vaguely. Okay. Claudia showed me texts. Between you and the woman at the plant 2 years ago. Nothing physical. But I saw how you wrote. Like you used to write to me. How? She accessed our phone records. I could have asked you. I decided you'd already left. So I'd leave first. Harder. Make you the villain. I couldn't speak. Claudia helped me believe that story. But I wrote it first. Didn't fight. Cancer gave me an excuse. Sell everything. Let you play hero. leave with whatever I could. We both betrayed each other. But your betrayal made you try harder. Mine made me cruel. I should have talked to you, I said quietly. About the texts, about what was broken. I didn't know how. We were both cowards. Yeah. Silence. Softer. I hope you're happy, Marcus. Building girl new life. Everything. I hope it's what I built. You're not only the worst things you did, Elena. Maybe not. But I'm dying. Don't get a chance to be better. She tried to laugh, turned to a cough. Exhausted. Thanks for holding my hand. Hospital. After hearing. I didn't deserve it. I took her cold, fragile hand. We're all disasters. Some get more time to fix our messes than others. We sat 10 minutes. Rain hammered. Machines beeped. I should go, I said. Let you rest. Marcus. Yeah. I really did love you once. When we were young and stupid. Thought love was enough. I know. I loved you too. I left before she could see me cry. Elena died 3 weeks later. Her cousin called. Small funeral. Family only. Claudia absent. I drove to Portland. Sat in the back. Silent. Ryan, her nephew, read a prepared statement. Composed, mature, 12 years old. A woman who had guided him, taught him, loved him. After the service, Ryan approached me. You're Marcus. Yeah. Aunt Elena left a letter. Made me promise to give it to you. I took the envelope. My name, her handwriting. I opened Elena's letter slowly, almost afraid to breathe. The pages were crisp, handwriting deliberate, careful. I saw those texts, Marcus, the ones to Sarah, from the plant. 2 years before I got sick. Claudia found them while helping with the phone bill. Nothing sexual. Nothing romantic. Just intimate. You wrote to her the way you used to write to me. Like her thoughts mattered. Like she was worth knowing. I exhaled. Relief washed over me. Sharp and cold. I should have been angry. I should have confronted you. Instead, I felt relieved. If you were already leaving me emotionally, then I could leave physically without being the villain. Claudia fed me a story I wanted to believe. It was easier than admitting we'd both stopped trying years ago. Her words cut and soothed at once. The cancer diagnosis should have brought us together. Instead, I used it as an exit. I consulted lawyers while you worked. Planned my escape while you were planning to save my life. When you sold everything, I felt contempt. You were the bad guy. I was wrong. You acted out of love. And I repaid that by trying to destroy you. I sat at the kitchen table, hands gripping the envelope. Rain tapped the window. Machines in my memory beeped again. Claudia altered evidence. Manipulated timestamps. Built a timeline to make me look calculating. I enabled that. I let her control me because it was easier than taking responsibility for my choices. And when it all fell apart, I blamed her. But it was my hand on the knife. I swallowed.
I'm dying, Marcus.
Stage 4. Maybe 3 weeks left. I've had time to think. About choices. How we become the worst versions of ourselves, step by step. How we justify cruelty. How we blame others. I became cruel, Marcus. But you built something. Took Walter's gift and honored it. Kept the bookstore. Gave that girl a home. Created sanctuary because you chose to. That's who you are. The one who shows up. Who builds even when it's hard. I hope you find someone who deserves that. I hope you forgive yourself. Because you forgave me for worse. You held my hand in the courtroom. You showed up in Portland. You didn't know me, but you did it anyway. That's what love looks like. Not the easy parts, but the hard parts. Thank you. For loving me when I was young and whole. For letting me go when I had to face what I'd done.
I'm sorry.
For lying, for manipulating, for the years of resentment I never voiced. Mostly, I'm sorry I never said this when it could have mattered. You're a good man, Marcus Hale. Walter knew it. Iris knows it. Grace knows it. Theo knows it. I hope you do too. With whatever counts as love at the end.
Elena.
Tess, I left Ryan everything I had. About $8,000 and my car. Clean. Not tied to our mess. Maybe that's the only good thing I did. I folded the letter and placed it in the lockbox with Walter's letters. 2 people who loved and lost. 2 people who left pieces of themselves for me to honor. The building stood fully renovated now. For stories alive with life. Iris's portrait of Walter hung in the lobby. Beside it, her portrait of me, paint-covered hands on the window frame. So everyone knows who kept his sanctuary alive, she'd said. But it wasn't just me. Grace opening the bookstore. Theo showing up with tools and beer. Iris turning a room into a home and then into a future. The designers, the artists. Walter, who watched from a distance for 30 years. Even Elena, in some strange way, her betrayal forced me to rebuild. Her letter forced me to forgive. 3 months after the funeral, Ryan's school counselor called. He was struggling. Claudia had reappeared, trying to claim his $8,000. I called Bernard. She can try, he said. But the money goes to Ryan, held in trust until he's 18. I called Ryan's cousin. I want to set up a college fund, separate from what Elena left him. Marcus, you don't have to. I know. But Elena wanted him to have something clean. And I can afford it now. $500 a month until he graduated high school. Enough to cover tuition or at least help with living expenses. Years passed. The building grew. 2nd property. 3rd property. Affordable artist housing. The Walter Chin Foundation was born. 43 artists housed. 3 had major gallery shows. 1 published a book. 2 won grants. Sanctuary multiplied. Iris graduated. Took a gallery job. Kept her room in the building. This is home, she said. She was right. Theo met someone.
Lisa.
They got engaged. I was best man. Grace turned 80. 70 people celebrated in the bookstore. She cried. Said it was exactly the life she wanted. Claudia lost her case for Ryan's money. Her relationship with her son fractured. Last I heard, she moved to Arizona. A decade after inheriting the building, I stood on the fire escape, coffee in hand. Morning sun hit the buildings across the street. Phone rang. Unknown number.
Marcus Hale.
Yeah. My name is Amanda Ross, Ryan's fiancée. He asked me to call. Is he okay? He's great. Just graduated from UC Berkeley. Full scholarship. The college fund helped with housing and food. He wants you at his graduation. I set down my coffee. Heart racing. I'll be there, I said. Graduation day. Saturday. Thousands of families. Ryan walked across the stage, confident, accomplished. He found me afterward. Marcus. Hug. You came. Of course. This is Amanda, he said, introducing her. Warm smile, kind eyes. Thank you, she said. You showed up, Ryan said. When nobody had to. That's what mattered. I nodded. Later that night, I pulled out the lockbox. Walter's letters. Elena's letter. Iris's college acceptance. Ryan's graduation announcement. Theo and Lisa's wedding invitation. Evidence of lives rebuilt. I added one more thing. A letter I'd written to Walter over the years, never sent. Dear Walter, I never met you, but I think about you every day. I wrote about showing up, creating sanctuary, giving people a chance, passing it forward. Some days I failed. Some days I was angry. Some days I missed Elena. Most days I was grateful. I closed the letter, didn't lock the box. Some things don't need locks anymore. Rain hammered the city. I stood at my window, watching the streets below. Tomorrow, Theo and I would look at another property. Iris would come for coffee. We'd keep building. That's what you do when someone gives you a second chance. Show up. Build sanctuary. Honor the gift by passing it forward. Walter understood. Elena eventually understood. I'm starting to understand it now. The building stood. The city slept. And I felt it. Not happiness. Not yet. Not complete. But peace. And for now, that was enough. If this story touched you, hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Who in your life deserves a second chance?